Hello everyone, this is Premkumar. In this video, we are going to look into the developer actions. We are going to look into three main actions. It is about checking out a rule, checking in a rule, and then private edit of a rule. Let's get started. I hope you are aware of Git versioning system. If you are coding using Git version, then you must have aware of the two terms, pull and push. Let's say all the source code are into some central repository. It can be GitHub. And there are two developers who contributes to that source code. When you want to do some changes, usually how they will be doing is, they will be pulling the source code from the central repository into the local repository. The local repository can be their own personal system. This process is called pull. In pull, you copy the source code from the central repository into your local repository. Then here you can do all your changes. Once all your changes are done, then you can do a commit and then push your changes from the local repository into the central repository. So this is how normally when a project they use Git as a source version control, they'll be following this model of pull and push. Now let's talk about Pega. In Pega, we can also compare this exact pull and push mechanism to the checkout and check-in. In checkout, what we will be doing is, we will be having the source code as a local copy. Then we can do all your changes. Once you are done with all your changes, then you can perform the check-in operation, which is going to push the changes from your local copy into the implementation layer or the central code base. In the last few videos, we also talked about the branching mechanism which supports the parallel development. Checkout check-in is also possible in the branches. So branching is like a separate layer, or you copy the entire source code into your branch, and inside the branch again you can do a checkout, do your change, and then check in to push your changes into branch, and then branch can be merged so that the code can move to the master or the central code base. Okay, I will keep this introduction little bit shorter. We can go to the Designer Studio and check how we can perform all these developer actions. So here you see, I just logged in into the Designer Studio and I opened an activity rule, which is Climbs app activity, which I used in the previous video. The activity is in the rule set Climbs app. As you can see, this rule set is of Climbs app. Now let's look into the developer actions. First thing, I do see only the save, delete button and the actions button. I don't see a checkout button in the rule. Activity is a source code or a rule in Pega, and I'm looking for the checkout button. So there are some configurations you have to do to enable the checkout. It can be in two places. You can enable a checkout for any rule set, and then you can also enable the checkout on the operator. First, on the operator, if the operator is a developer or an administrator, definitely you can enable the checkout option in the operator rule form. But if the operator is end user, there is no need to have enable checkout in their operator ID, because end user is not going to do any kind of software development. For this, I'm going to open my current operator. You can navigate here and then click on this operator. That is going to open up the current operator from, and there in the security tab, you will find allow rule checkout option. I have already enabled this allow rule checkout option during the operator ID video. This is the first configuration and it is done. Now let's go to the next configuration on the rule set. So this activity, currently it is in the rule set of Climbs app, and definitely the rule set is not configured to have checkout enabled because I don't see the checkout button. Now to open a rule set, you can directly click here to open the rule set from the rule form, or you can also go to records, sysadmin, and then open the rule set. For now, I'm just going to click here. This opens up the configurations of the rule set rule form. Here, if you go to the security, there you will find use checkout option. This option facilitates the checkout button for all the rules that get saved under this rule set. We already know rules get saved under the rule set. So if you use this option, use checkout, and then do a save, then all the rules in this rule set, we have the checkout enabled option. Now if you go to this activity and then just do a refresh, you will find the checkout button here. As you see now, the checkout button is here. So this is how you enable checkout for rule set. So why Pega didn't enable this checkout button? At the time of application creation, as a brand new application, Pega doesn't automatically enable this checkout feature in the rule set. It expects some kind of development needs to be done, and once you are completely done with some initial development, then you can enable the checkout in the rule set. Because after the initial phase of development, you will have a lot of collaboration with the different team members. At that time, when you have this checkout enabled, then it can be really come in handy for the developer collaboration. Okay, now we know how to enable the checkout and check-in feature. There are two places where you have to configure, one on the operator ID and the second on the rule set. Now let's start with the checkout feature. Let's say I have a small change that needs to be done on this claims app activity. Then what I can do is I can open this activity. I can perform two actions. I can either check out this activity directly here. So checking out an activity will create a private copy of this rule under my name. So what I meant by private copy is just do a save here and then go to the search and search for the claims app activity. You will see there are two instances of this activity. One under claims app and the second under my name. It's like it formed a rule set of my name. It's like my own private rule set or my own private checkouts. You can also find all your private checkouts on this option, on this tick mark. Just click here. You will find the activity claims app activity. There you have a private checkout. Okay, now going back, what it does is whenever you do a checkout, Pega creates a private copy of the same rule. Why do I mean private copy here? It means if some other developer try to access this rule, they cannot see your private copy. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add another step. I'll just use a page new step. Okay, now that I did some change. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to log in with a different operator ID and just check the same rule. To do that, I will open a new incognito mode and then I'll go for launching the URL. I'll use the operator myknowpega and then rules. So this is going to give me the Dev Studio. Now what I will do, I'll go to the activity. You can also go from records and then I'll try to open the activity claims app activity. So what you see here is you don't see the page new step which was added by the other developer. What is the reason? Because that developer did the checkout and did the change. He never pushed the change or he never did the check-in option. That is why you don't see the changes from here. Now you got a very important point that whenever you do a checkout, you can do whatever changes you want. Your changes will not be reflecting to other developers or other developers will not be impacted based on your changes. All your local changes will be reflecting only to you. So you can easily do some testing and make sure all your code work, and only then you can check in your change. Okay, one more important thing to note here is the other developer, he don't have the checkout button. As you see, there is only private edit button. It means if one developer, he checked out on particular rule, then the other developer cannot check out the same rule. It means only one developer can have a checkout and do all his change. Only when the developer checking the rule, then the other developer can check out and continue with the development. Okay, I hope now checkout button is clear. In checkout, what we are really doing is we are making a new copy, a private copy, and the developer can do whatever changes he wants. Those changes will never get reflected to the second developer until the developer push or check in the changes. Now let's talk about the check-in button. As soon as you do checkout, you will get two buttons here. Either you can check in. Check-in is like commit and push, or you can also discard your changes. First, let me show you discard. Just do a discard here and then you get a confirmation pop-up. Click on discard. Now you see all your changes are discarded. Okay, now let's do one more time. Go to checkout. Now if you do the change again, I'm going to do page new, do a save and then do a check-in. So whenever you do a check-in, it asks you for providing some check-in comments. That is a mandatory comment. So why are we doing this is, even if you use some kind of Git versioning and whenever you want to commit some changes, you have to add some kind of comments, right? Similarly, whenever you want to commit and push your changes or whenever you want to check in your changes, definitely you have to provide the check-in comments reflecting what changes you did. As you see here in the check-in pop-up, if you get some severe warning, you have to fill it as mandatory. For now, I'm just going to say work in progress, and then I will continue and provide the check-in comment. I will say added second step as page new. Just always try to provide a meaningful name and then you can do a check-in. So what it did is we pushed our changes. Okay, now again the checkout button is enabled. There are two interesting things about this check-in process. One is whenever you do a check-in command, it will be stored as a history instance to this rule. If you go to history tab, scroll down and then try to find the view full history, there you will see the check-in command is added as a rule history. This is one thing. The next thing is you can also have some kind of approval flow for your rule check-in, so that only when the rule is approved, then it can get checked in. That configuration stays in the rule set. If you open this Climbs app rule set and then go to security tab, there you will find the out of the box flow rule, approve rule changes that can help with the approval process whenever you want to do a check-in. If you click and open this flow rule, there you will get some idea. It is also in the available status. It means it can be easily customized. In my experience, I never saw any project using these approve rule changes. Now if you go to the second developer and then just do a refresh here, you will see the changes reflected because the first developer already did a check-in or pushed the changes into the main rule set or the trunk rule set, which is Climbs app. At this time, the second developer can check out and continue with this development. It means now a new private copy is created onto the second developer's name. You can find the same here. If you search Climbs app activity and then do a search, again you will find two copies. One, the main trunk rule set, and the other is the myknowpega, which is the second operator who just enabled the checkout button. So this is how the checkout and check-in is going to work. If any developer, if you want to do some kind of rule changes, the first thing what you have to do is you have to check out the rule, do your changes and then check in your rule. Always do remember, if you are doing some kind of critical development, before you check in your changes, make sure you do a lot of unit testing, or you can also review with your team member and then you check in your changes so that your changes will not be affecting other developers or the other business use cases. Okay, now ideally in a real-time development environment, you will be mostly working with branches. You will not be editing directly on these trunk rule sets. So how to do that is, you can check out your rule directly to the branch. You don't want to save as the rule. You can directly check out the rule to branch. I will show you how to do it. Just discard this rule. Now let's say you want to add another step to this activity. How you can do? You don't want to check out this rule directly. Instead, you can go to checkout to branch. Click on that. Then it will ask you to which branch you want to check out. I already created a new branch called checkout. You can also find that branch name under this application. As you see, I just added this checkout branch for the demo purpose. So you get that branches which are applicable for this application. Currently I have only one branch. I can check out to this branch. On clicking checkout to this branch, then you see a private copy of that rule under this branch checkout. Okay, when you perform checkout to branch, then Pega creates a private copy of your rule under this rule set, branch rule set. Now, how many copies you think will be there? There are 3 copies. The first thing is the trunk rule set. The second is on branch rule set. And third, because you checked out, you have your own private copy. Let's check it out. If you click on search and then expand, you see this is on Climbs app rule set. This is on Climbs app on branch rule set. And the third is on your private copy. If you just discard here, I'll just do a discard, so that now you will have only 2 copies, one on the trunk rule set and the other on the branch rule set. Now what you did is you just copied from the trunk rule set into the branch rule set, and from here again you can use the checkout functionality to check out and then do your changes, and finally you can do a check-in. So Pega, whenever it creates a branch rule set, always it enables this checkout functionality. If you go to the branch rule set, which is of Climbs app and the branch name, and go to security, there you see use checkout is enabled on this branch rule set. That is why checkout check-in functionality is enabled by default into the branch rule set. Okay, now from here you can check out, you can do all your changes. Then you can follow the branch merging functionality to merge your changes into the trunk rule set. I hope now you are a bit clear with the checkout check-in functionality. Now what about the private edits? Let's say the second developer, he has a rule in his own private checkout. Here you see the climbs app activity, which is into the branch rule set, is having a separate copy or a private copy. You can also find it from here. There are 3 copies and myknowpega operator has his own copy. Now let's check the same rule from the first developer point of view. Now here is the first developer. I'm going to search from here. Then I will try to open the activity, the same activity from the branch rule set. If I open from here, I get only the private edit option. I don't get the checkout button because the other developer already checked out the rule in his own private copy. If the rule is already checked out, the second developer can never check out the rule. He can only do a private edit. Let's do the private edit. Click on the private edit. You get a message here saying that this rule is checked out by myknowpega operator. So definitely there is going to be kind of merge conflicts because the myknowpega operator already checked out and he is doing some changes maybe. Now the current operator, which is Prem, and he also needs to do the changes. So if you do some private edit and do some small changes, both the changes can have some kind of merge conflict, right? So definitely you have to solve your changes. So private edit is kind of a risk when the other developer already checked out the rule. But if you have a proper collaboration, you can talk with the developer and then resolve your merge conflicts. Now I will show you how this private edit works. Continue with private edit. Just click this option. So this will also give the same kind of feature like how you did for a checkout. But this operator always gets the second priority because the myknowpega operator actually did the checkout, but the Prem operator, he just did a private edit. Now what do you think? How many copies of the rules might have created? Let's check it out. If you go and search for this activity, you will find 4 copies of the rule. One is the trunk rule set, second is the branch rule set, third is the myknowpega's copy, and fourth is the current operator Prem's copy. Okay, there are 4 copies of the rules created. Now at this current operator, I just did a private edit. Let me try to check in this rule. Can I check in this rule into the branch rule set? Let's try it out. Okay, now let's provide the check-in commands and try to check in. Just click the check-in button. As you see, myknowpega has this rule checked out. That is the other operator. You cannot check in your private checkout until the myknowpega operator either checks in, because the myknowpega operator gets the first priority because he did the proper checkout. We just did the private edit. So unless he checks in or deletes his changes, we cannot check in our changes. What we can actually do is we can copy it into a separate branch and keep it there. Once the myknowpega operator completes his change, checked in his change, then you can do some retrofit and solve your merge conflict, and then you can continue with your development. But at the same time, when 2 developers want to do the change at the same code, then definitely it's going to be a merge conflict. So when to use this private edit option? Private edit can be really handy when you want to do some kind of local changes either in a locked rule set version or if the rule is locked or checked out by a different operator. We already saw if the rule is locked by a different operator, we can still continue with the private edit, do our changes. It means it creates a copy into your own rule set. Again, it means those changes will not be reflecting to anyone. So you can do whatever changes you want and you can do unit testing. So with private edit, you can do all your local changes, you can do all your unit testing, and the changes will be reflecting only to you. But with private edit, you cannot check in directly unless the first operator who took the checkout checks in or deletes. Then only you can do check in or push your changes so that your changes will be reflected to everyone. This is one use case. And the second place where you can use private checkout is whenever the rule set version is locked. For example, the climbs app activity, which says in the rule set climbs app, it is on version 010101, right? If I lock this version, I'm going to lock it. Just do a lock and save. So what we are doing here is I'm locking the rule set version and then do a submit here and then do a save. Now that we have locked the version 010101. Now if you go to that activity, you cannot check out any rule when that particular version is locked. If you click this button, you will find that climbs app 0101 is locked. So what you can do is you can check out to branch or save as into unlocked version. If we go here, you can either check out to branch, but you cannot check out 010101 because it is already locked. At this point, you can also do a private edit. So private edit is going to just have a local copy and you cannot check in your changes into the locked rule set version. If I do a check-in, it will just ask you for either to save it in branch or into a rule set, but there is no unlocked version. So you can check in your rule only if there is some unlocked version, or you can use the branch to check in your changes. Sometimes I do use this private edit either in staging or even in production. If I want to test some kind of functionality, I don't want to reflect other users, and all the rules in production, definitely it will be under locked version. So what you can do a private edit of the rule and then just check your changes on your own local copy. I don't recommend doing that in production, but I'm just giving you a tip. You can use this private edit and do some local testing in any of your testing environments. Before ending this lecture, I want to show you two important things. First thing is, if you want to find different versions of a rule, you can search here and then use this option to find different flavors of the rule. As you see, this is the trunk rule set, this is the branch rule set. There is a private copy for myknowpega and there is a private copy for the current operator. If you open the private copy of the myknowpega operator, just open it. You cannot do any actions from here. Definitely you cannot delete it because the other operator already have that checkout enabled and he is doing some changes. So you can have only read-only version, and all the changes which were not committed or work in progress changes, you cannot find it here. Only when the other developer, the myknowpega developer, check in the changes, then only you can find the changes. And the next thing what I want to show you is in the actions button, when you use view versions, you can also find different versions of the rule. As you see, this shows you only your checkout and then the main rules like checked out from 010101, which is the trunk rule set version. As you see here, this is the trunk rule set version. And here you will also find the other version which is saved into the branch. I hope now you are a bit clear with this checkout, check-in and private edit. As a small recap, you can enable the checkout features in the operator ID rule form and the rule set form. Developers, when they want to do some changes into the rule, they can click on the checkout button, then they will get a private copy of the rule, do all their changes, do all their unit testing without affecting other people. Once they are confirmed with their changes, then they can do the check-in, which is like a push feature that can push your changes into the central code base or the trunk rule set. And for one particular rule, only one operator can have the checkout at one point of time. If one operator already took the checkout, then the other operator cannot do a checkout. Instead, they can do a save as into a different branch, or they can also do a private edit. So private edit, you can use it in two places. You can use it on rules where the rule set version is locked, or you can also use it on the rules on which the other operator already used the checkout and doing some changes. I know this is a little bit complex. If you have any other questions on this checkout check-in functionality, feel free to drop a comment here. I'll be there to clarify you for sure. See you in the next video.